Again, guys, looking through Andrew Edge's, you know, early inception of his project. Yeah, I'm about this. Iteration game about making multiple failures and the value of failure. Which I think it's not really taught in high school. Good point. Space Explorer, I reckon I'll figure about that in a second. And yeah, it's a kind of a tough one because your game is not your output is not necessarily a product. It is in a game, but to see that played might be a little interesting. We'll get everybody in the class to dress up and wear some lederhosen, and then we'll all pretend like we're German students so you can show that off. Okay, I don't mind getting a second opinion on this one, but the color is the first thing I see, and it's a bit distracting. Also, I would prefer this to be broken down into page, 1, 2, 3, 4. Not that it's the organization's bad, it's just a lot to look at it at once. I need you to calm my brain down by giving me single pages and maybe simplifying what's going on in the pages. So you have 4 quadrants, then boop, hey, we're going to throw a 5th quadrant here. And that's a 4th quadrant. So a little bit confused on how you want to show the progress. And like maybe like this is a leftover from a previous semester, but it doesn't feel like it fits what you've been doing previously. So it's a placeholder. I'm glad you have content. We just have to represent that content in a bit more of a storytelling linear pattern. I like the post-it notes. The challenging thing is how do you communicate there was value that came out of that. So you got to be talking about the research, what you learned from talking with people, what you learned from these sessions, but most importantly, the insights. The thing that if I just jump into a project instantly, I'm not going to know the outcomes. So insights are things that you see into that are further than observations. And if there are examples of, because I think I went to Germany. Yeah, you were with that group. Can you show any of that? And then the Space Explorers has got to be explained more clearly. I like the icons, but beyond the icons, man, that's a bunch of text. So it's got bones. It just needs to be formatted and needs to be streamlined, but workable. Yep. I could have just read that and then straight through it. Alright. Brenner. I have a little bit of concern though. First page is I look at it and I'm go, I'm kind of underwhelmed by what I see. Because it looks just like a mixer. Also, crop that in just a little bit. Yep. Alright, assume this is from second year. So I'm fine with second year. Yeah, this got to be reformatted. Come on, brother. Once again, see your underlines, how that they're not really necessary. Just cut it out. Also, you're kind of developing an implied vertical line. So maybe text, the right angle, the right side of that text could be lined up here. Problem statement. Ooh. First thing we gotta fix is I don't want to be underwhelmed by this when I see the page. Also, what are you trying to show off? Like in terms of like skill set, talent wise, what are you trying to show off on this page? What do you say? Once again, you right. Who are we designing for? Right, this one needs more formatting. I think some of those graphs that we showed earlier could be very useful because yes, you search the market, but if you can plot the market, that'd be a bit more helpful. Like in terms of pros and cons, maybe do an XY coordinate map, plot these, tell me where the opportunity is, tell me like why you want to be in a certain zone, because all these are pretty high end. Maybe not Cuisinart or Oyster, but I know KitchenAid and Kenmore looks pretty nice. But the KitchenAid definitely is one of those. I don't know if I'm luxurious, but I would say they're a higher end product considering it's still in streamlined design. It's pretty famous design. Spacing. And what are her needs though, right? She needs to be quiet, valid, easy to use, yes, cleanliness, safety, durable, and storable. Okay, now keep in mind, if this is what you're setting up at the beginning, if I scroll through, you need to talk to these things again. Just curious about that background. I guess if it took me this long to discover, it's not a big deal. I just know it's durable and these hex patterns matched up. All right, so let's see. If you start off with there, if we zoom to the end, I think it might be cab mile time. All right, take a deep breath. I think it's ugly. We got to work through the ugliness. I would say like this is a still as an exploration. The next version of it needs to have some attractiveness to it, and then including this is really wicked correct because this is the front, and then I'm looking for this face here, but I don't see it. I don't see a bowl. It's almost like the thing's flipped backwards, so that front view and your perspective view are a bit confusing. Also, you might want to make that a see-through container if it is storage. Like, does it have to be opaque? Okay, just a little bit more. Exploding view needs description, call-outs, and the downside, I was like, man, it's taking a lot of real estate up. I think it's the bottom profile. I'm not sure. And then you go from side view and top view. I'd rather just diagnose the top view first, primary. I mean, that seems where a lot of the development is. Or if one of your innovations about the platform itself, then all right, just do the platform. But right now it's limiting your ability to tell me why these things are important, do some type of analysis of it. Observation page, once again, kind of sucks. These are things that are thrown on there. And let me look at these guys for a second. It's almost like these two things should be two different pages. So one's the breakdown and understanding the volumetrics, the assets, your fan, your little gearbox, your motor, all those things that need to be included. And so what volumes are important. And then this is more of a usability study. But what do you want me to know? That these things drip? I know they drip. That's why the back of it's flat. So I feel like these questions are weak. Sorry, I'm just being like super critical, but let's be critical at the beginning, right? Do you find it hard to clean? Yes, of course it's hard to clean. Give me some information. Give me some information that's useful. Do you ever find it hard to store the parts? Yes, I think everyone would agree with these things. So they're not really insightful research. So how can we, change people's, I guess, paradigm or the way they think about these products to offer something new? And that's something I think we should definitely talk in class about, because I mean everybody's done this project essentially. How do you make it unique? The sketches aren't terrible. What's not so good is the shading technique. I'm gonna tell you, this is a good opportunity to throw this guy over into like SketchUp or Photoshop, whatever your not SketchUp, Sketchbook or Photoshop, and make you something, because you can still use these underlays, right? I'm assuming. I mean, either you can distort these so they're flat view again. It's an opportunity to show a skill set, and we're gonna need to clean them up anyways because nobody's really interested in your second year drawings. Prototyping's awesome. Photoshop the stuff in the background out. And I think you could use some levels, some Photoshop levels, a little contrast to bring a little bit more attention to these. Also, we make prototypes to learn from prototypes. What did you learn? This is not the final. This is, I don't know, we'll remix some of these things. Maybe a volumetric study. Just talking about the different volumes. Somehow we need to make this look like it's not the final feature, And then the next page is going to be the CAD model. You still got to do a little validation. You got to put it back in its own environment. So I think like 2 added pages to this. One to explain your CAD model and the features and the volumetrics, and the last one more of a marketing approach. So I mean, you've got maybe 33%, 40% done. But when you get into second year project, of course you don't have these skill sets yet. You need to add to them now that you have them. All right, so if this is your draft, I'm fixing to... All right, not loading. We'll just assume it's my internet. Did I hit that button too soon? Yep, I hit it too soon. 29, come on girl, get that down to 15. All you gotta do is upload it to small PDF, compressed PDF. Give me a 15 megabyte document. I would be much happier. I'm gonna count to 15. If it doesn't load by 15 seconds, yes, it's also my internet being bad, but also you should know it's got to be below 15. So starting, it's got to load. All right. However, they're out. Let's not get into this mess again. All right, you can't really do this, right? So this, in essence, is 2 pages. Man, this is a ton of white space. I would like to see just a blank page on the left or a blue page on the left, and then make this its own page to the right, join, and then put your details there. I'm open to a second opinion. It does work, but the first thing I see is giant Pacific Ocean between the two. I think it's a good picture. I don't know what it is. I'm interested. William, what's your thing? Let's see if I can zoom in. I don't want to do that. Get out of here. All right, so a little bit of we don't want to say meeting William, meet William ... because you're building anticipation into whatever we're talking about, which I don't know what we're talking about yet. William is, I don't want to call him normal because all kids are normal. Had a Symes amputation, but he was one. Let's say like William is a fun-loving 4-year-old boy who has also had this amputation. His bones aren't weight-bearing, resulting in a custom-fitting prosthetic. This prosthetic is placed every 6 months, according to his parents. I don't know what that means. Finding shoes. Okay, so replaced every 6 months, period. I would almost start a new sentence. And not so much according to his parents. Let's build a little empathy. Finding shoes for a plastic foot and a normal foot is a difficult challenge. So then we jump over to what's the problem? What is the problem that works? Also, how long does it take William to change his shoe? Does he really have that option? Because, I mean, shoe design's not going to change. So it's more of a prosthetic design solution. He's got polar bears. That's pretty cool. All right, a little bit of rewriting too. Due to the curve shape of William's prosthetic, make sure that's a lowercase I. It is difficult for his parents to find well-fitting shoes. I don't want to say that William is aware of his prosthetic. Of course he is. He's a sentient being. Unfortunately, William is very upset that he can't wear his favorite pair of Batman shoes, and then maybe a little Batman logo. But those aren't Batman shoes, so think this thing about. All right, so I'm reading enough. Come on, y'all. Command I. It's built into the program. Spell check. If it picks the wrong word, I won't blame you. But come on, this is multiple times. We need to show the problem a bit better. I know it doesn't fit, but why doesn't it fit? And then once you show me why it doesn't fit, you can go to explain why these solutions work or don't work, right? So the Velcro maybe makes a bit better sense. This back heel's pretty neat. I'm not really sure if that's a real shoe, but I need a little bit more information on the problem. That way I understand why that doesn't fit into existing shoes. Or maybe you show me like shoe types. So you have Velcro, and these just look normal to me, so I really can't derive any information. Instead of ideations, many of these ideations, I might call that exploration. And it looks like you're coming on with shoe hardware. The thing is, like, you've highlighted that section, so that's what you're going for, but we can't do that sketch. That's a bad sketch. Also, you see the size difference between these two? These should be like, because you're using in context with one another, need to be the same ratio. So I'm assuming that cylinder needs to be the same size as this cylinder. So Sketchpad needs some help. All right, for these, how do we bring attention to your design object and less like the shoe in the background? Like the shoe's important, but it really is this fitting area. So opportunity, maybe desaturate the background, leave the shoe and your design as the main piece. Or you can have like let's see what color theme is here. More of a blue, kind of a turquoise little dot, giving me exactly where I should look at. It's going to be 60%, let's go 40% turquoise blue dot. Show me exactly where to look. Well, Velcro's not long enough, so make it longer. But that's not, it might be a solution, but it's not the most designery solution. Okay. This is really important, I think, but just look at it in perspective to your entire screen. You're showing me something very small. Why is that important? Make it bigger, be more explicit. We don't need the logo here. We don't need the user manual. If you can explain it to me in a couple of graphics, it shouldn't, it's not good. So how do we explain how to use its sequence of use? And then you lost part of a shoe here, which we need that back. So step 1, step 2, step 3. I'd rather see that in like, I don't know, maybe a circle or a squircle, which is a squared circle. No. A circular edged square. That's more like it. It's more of an app word. But 1, 2, 3, 4. What's the difference between these shoes or these product displays? Can't really tell. Awesome photo. I would zoom in on it, maybe show that different page. Right now it's still difficult for me to do a preset solution because I don't know how it works. So maybe this could work. It feels a bit forced. I think that's pretty cool. I'd rather see that in a big image than this one. But you know, if that's low res and this is high res, maybe we can find some way to make it work. Also, we talked about Batman shoes being his favorite. Why can't these be some Batman shoes? Just throwing that out there. Are we recording? Cool. Visual brand language. Yep, that's what we're talking about. Nice prototype. Dang, you have the little drop reflection, drop shadow. All right, I would say these too many words, a bit too much for me to focus on. I love starting off structure. Structure is what makes the world work. Then second paragraph, structural can also mean, give me top 3. I would say like these are equally arrayed or patterned. they'll look at you. Only thing I don't like about these sketches, they look a bit dry. So let's up the contrast on and get a little more color pulled into this. A little bit more saturation. Also, I don't know which one you went with. I'm going to say that one because of the size, but I don't know where you went. Also, can't read your call-outs. Are they important? Are they not? Handwriting looks good. I might, kill off the sketch development. When I see sketches, I know I'm looking at sketches. If you make it big enough, maybe that handwriting becomes legible. Just a thought. Concept dev. I want to know what you learned through these models, and it could be a little paragraph, 2-3 sentences deep. But all real designers, real recognized real, will understand these. So I think they're pretty crucial to have in here. Our resolution's a bit low, isn't it? So a bit of a pro and con to this page. Pro, looks like a designer's room. Con, I saw this first, I saw that second, I saw that third, I see this fourth. So maybe because clocks aren't really supposed to be recognized, they shouldn't stand out too much. It's a good thing, but the downside is it's your final solution. These orchids should not come in first place or before your design solution. So it's worth the discussion. All right, so what do you want? It's a pretty short project. I mean, you got 4 pages, 5 pages long. Is there anything we need to add to it? The 2 opportunities to add things in it is, if this is your mood board, your inspiration board, how do you translate words, or how do you translate words and form into something you can develop off of? So it could be another opportunity for your handwritten sketch ideation page, because I mean, you're selling that's what you do. You think in text first and you think in sketching second. Could work. Sketches, I think they work. We talked about that. Which one of these got translated? I don't know. I think what I might enjoy is grab one of these. I don't know if you still have these, but how can you talk about the final changes you made from your foam to your final? So maybe if you had a page of all foams, you talk about the development on the last couple of foams, talking about parting lines, talking about equal aesthetic weights, not so much repetition, but balance, proximity, those good old designer words. And then you jump into your final one. Just needs a little bit more body to it. Kazow! The jolt. Sip of water. Only downside with this being green, it's really close to that, not rigid, Ryobi green. And this font doesn't feel right. Let me see if we can do that. I think we can. What I want to do is to change to the orange color scheme. Reading this. Sketches are fun. I'm cool with it. There's not so much process, so you got to ask yourself, is this a situation where you've already shown process somewhere else so you can skip it now? Yeah, that's what I'm hunting for. To give you perspective, we've got people who won't make it into the program who are doing this right now. Congratulations, you're being safe. But that's not really unique. These are unique. So if I can have more of these any way possible, and just talking about why you made the decision to go with this shape, and then what you learned through the prototyping stage, I'd be happier. We don't care how you made it. Not really. You could have 3D printed that. Looks like you catted it up. You could CNC'd it. Really, it's like the process is important, but more important. Well, let me back up. The fabrication process is important. The process of mass manufacturing is a bit more important with those considerations. I think I made my point, so I'll back off that a little bit. So what makes this, and we're looking for, what's my word? What makes this energetic? Because you can make that argument. This is a very design term, aesthetically driven project. And we got to Photoshop it. Well, should we Photoshop out that parting line? Should we Photoshop that? Definitely. Most definitely. That part, and that part, and that part, and that part. And that part. I mean, it's good for a second year model. It's pretty simplistic. I wish maybe you put, I can make this in a couple minutes in SOLIDWORKS. So maybe there's a CAD model to finish this off. Because I'm going back to one of the things you said, combining edges and curves. And so I want is some type of transition. Is it a chamfer somewhere? Maybe. I think you need to make a strong argument why this is an attractive design object. Hey, South Carolina, it's for lovers. Actually, I think it's Virginia who's for lovers. But yeah, it's just kind of, it needs some help. Let's talk about it. It's not helpless, but it needs some of the fourth year James Jenkins and not the second year. Okay, but tell me half and half container, my thoughts go, how you gonna clean that out? Let us see your design process. 3 week, okay. It's a weird reflection down here too. And you're showing me a lot of the final model way before we get to it. Alright, so it's two things. It is sugar and creamer container. But when you talk about, well, when I saw half and half, I thought it was just a creamer because half and half. So regarding that, I'd rather you show me two people having coffee, right? Maybe in a coffee shop first to paint me a little picture of context instead of giving the final solution. Okay, this is almost like the other guys. We are defining an aesthetic. You've got to justify why it is strong using design terms, your design principles. Okay. You're going for modern and elegant. Why? Why are those two words you want to go for? What does modern mean? And what does elegant mean? It's almost like the other product. You've got to define these things. That way you can meet your definition. It might be modern, the fact that it's white, but I would argue that it looks more clunky. This part does not look elegant to me. So your job as a designer is to convince me of it. And somewhere in your sketches, it feels like, why do they have to be one object? Why can't you make two different things? A vessel for sugar and a vessel for creamer. You chose to put them together. There's got to be some reason behind it, but I don't think you show it. Also, in terms of like visual balance, I'm worried about I can knock this thing over, and then I spilled both the creamer and the sugar, which will be terrible. It's also funny that we talk about the U.S. trying to prepare for a long battle. Maybe that's just funny. I do like this in use. Was it just one object, or is there a line of objects that we can put together? I like the different color looks. This feels like gloss, that feels like matte, that feels like semi-gloss. So we need to think about how to make more of an argument about why this is a beautiful design object, because I'm not getting it quite yet. So water, here we go. Pores love it. Am I crazy? Maybe. I feel like that is pushed off a little bit. One, I want that just a little bit bigger. Studio project, 3 weeks. This thing's floating. Nope, it's not quite floating. Outside in, keep in mind, you can rename this whatever you want to. We call it outside in, inside out, because it's just kind of easy for us to remember. What thoughts do you have? Better late than never. Well, here I am looking at it, so nobody was late. Is this Halo? Serious. Alright, so when we're talking about mood boards, we have to pick visuals that give us inspiration, catalyst content to do sketching. So while I'll agree, Homeboy looks very serious, and the girl from National Geographic looked very serious, but what visual, aesthetic elements can I take from these two and put into your project? I would say nothing. And you're just pulling from just architecture, and you got something that's super old, something that's digital, and something that's brand new. I know we can't change this, but maybe we can be a bit more clever with the images that we choose. Now let me read. I want you to define serious. Don't tell me that the project is about attributes. You can tell me it's visual brand language exploration. And then we had to make a clock based on serious. Meh, kill that. You sketched serious forms. They're seriously boring. Boo, burn, dad joke. You did discover ones that were more successful. This one, I assume, because everybody else is kind of ghosted, and that's the only one that's full. Look at these summer op skills. Oh my goodness. This is my gut reaction. We got to redraw. Because these are all your second year stuff. Man, they are devoid of form. You're just trying to make sure everything's in perspective. I want to see that blown up on the 80-inch screen downstairs. This looks like a jukebox. This looks like a little hex bug. So back to this. Got to pick better images. Give me something tangible from these objects, and I can translate into these sketches because I don't see the pullover. Grounded. That could be a good visual element that helps you develop. And then you had to make models. Do we have any model stuff? I bet we do. Why? Because Chris took pictures of them. Looks like it's just unhappy. Like kind of these... He's got these downward facing eyebrows, this open mouth. You got to start developing what are some words, what are some guiding imagery that we can use to justify why that's important. Oh yeah, how do you power this thing? And how do we Photoshop? So, need some legwork. Is that it? All right. Groovy. Groovy. Really? I don't like that.